Sarah Mitchell had been abroad on a business assignment for 5 years. When she finally returned, she brought back a 4-year-old girl. Not only that, but standing beside her was a gentle-looking man. The three of them were beaming with smiles that radiated pure happiness. She had once told me that as long as our hearts were together, a marriage license didn't matter. She hadn't lied to me. It was just that in this moment, I realized her heart had never truly been with me. Our 8-year relationship was over. I tossed a drink I had prepared into a nearby trash can, turned around, and walked out of the international arrivals terminal. "Babe, I'm home," Sarah texted. When a message came through, I was standing at the exit, holding her favorite iced matcha latte. The corners of my mouth lifted slightly, and I hadn't replied immediately, wanting to surprise her. Her familiar tall silhouette soon appeared in the crowd. But before I could squeeze through to greet her, I saw a man beside her. It was Julian Hayes, a guy from our college department who had moved overseas during her junior year. Julian was currently bowing his head to help Sarah adjust her backpack strap. Meanwhile, Sarah was holding the hand of a little girl who looked about 4. The girl was skipping along, her vibrant energy a mirror image of Sarah's when she was young. My breath hitched. The joy in my heart was scattered like smoke in a cold wind, vanishing instantly. A passerby nearly bumped into the little girl, and Sarah immediately squatted down to shield her, her eyes full of concern. My throat tightened back when I used to pull all-nighters for work. She used to look at me with that same painful affection. Julian smiled and patted the girl's head, saying to Sarah, "I didn't sleep well last night. What if Stella wants a bedtime story tonight?" Sarah stood up, gently patted Julian's shoulder, and then pinched his cheek affectionately. Still so energetic even without sleep. "Stella's daddy is the best." Her tone was overflowing with laughter. Julian grinned at the teasing and naturally took Sarah's hand. The matcha latte in my hand suddenly felt heavy, like a stone weighing down my chest. They gathered their luggage, Sarah holding the girl, Julian pulling the suitcase, and walked outside side by side. I followed them inexplicably like a ghost. I heard Julian ask casually, "Did you mention to Lucas that you were coming back?" Sarah's pace slowed slightly before she said, "We'll talk about it later." "Later?" "Stella isn't some secret to be ashamed of. Don't let people misunderstand where she comes from." Julian frowned, his tone a bit urgent. "Misunderstand?" I looked down and saw it. They were wearing matching couples bracelets. Back in college, Sarah had once dragged me to a night market to pick out a pair of bracelets, saying we'd wear them until we were old. I had laughed at her for being cheesy, but she had said earnestly, "Lucas, this is important to me." I thought that was our pact, never realizing she had, long ago, given a similar promise to someone else. Maybe the bracelets were too shiny. The glare made my eyes sting. I blinked hard to suppress the emotions surging up. Despite Julian's aggressive tone, Sarah didn't get angry. She just sighed helplessly. "Stella is 4 years old, and we've been official for a long time. What are you worried about?" Sarah asked. "Lucas has been with me for so many years. I never gave him closure. I need to explain things to him slowly," she added. Julian stopped walking, his brow furrowed deep. "Explain? Are you afraid he won't let go? Or is it that you can't bear to let go?" Sarah rubbed her temples, looking like she didn't want to discuss it further, but Julian wouldn't let it drop. He turned and picked up the little girl, whispering, "Stella, Mommy doesn't want us anymore. Let's go find Grandma." The girl rubbed her eyes and started sobbing quietly. A passing woman couldn't help but mutter, "Such a beautiful child. How can you bear to make her cry?" Julian held the girl, looking at Sarah with red-rimmed eyes, acting as if he had suffered the world's greatest injustice. Sarah froze for a moment, then finally walked over and gently hugged Julian. "Stop it. That's not what I meant." She didn't call him babe, but that tender tone was enough to explain everything. I squatted down, looking at the matcha latte in my hand, the plastic cup slightly deformed from my grip. A passerby accidentally kicked my foot. I simply tossed the drink into the nearest recycling bin, pretending I never bought it. When I looked up again, the family of 3 had already walked far away. My legs were numb. I sat on a bench outside the terminal for a long time. My phone buzzed. Sarah had posted a story on Instagram. 5 years ago, I crossed the ocean alone. 5 years later, I returned with family. The photo was of the little girl's back. Below was a comment from a mutual friend. Sarah, are you really cutting ties with Lucas? Sarah replied, who said anything about cutting ties? He treats me so well. How could I ever let him go? The friend pressed. Then what about Julian and Stella? Sarah didn't reply again. The commenter was our college roommate. I recognized the profile picture immediately. It turned out to be us, I believe, and had long since become her in them. The list of people who knew Sarah had a family never included me. Her previous post had been a photo of a train station abroad. I had calculated the time from that, guessing she was coming back. I thought she hadn't told me because she wanted to surprise me. So, I specifically took time off to pick her up. I never expected the surprise to turn into a dagger. Julian went abroad his junior year. Not long after, Sarah confessed her feelings to me. My colleagues at the time warned me that Julian was her first love, and I was just a backup for her loneliness. But I was blinded by her tenderness. After all, we grew up together. She once rushed out to protect me when I was cornered by street thugs, leaving a scar on her arm. She also stayed up with me until dawn when I got drunk at the company annual party. I thought that was love, but it turned out I was just a shadow in her life. Tears slid down my face without me realizing it. I wiped them away. I opened my messaging app and texted the project director. I'm signing up for the Alaska Infrastructure Survey next month. It was time to wake up. The Alaska survey required staying on site for at least 2 years. The director had contacted me before, but I hadn't agreed at the time. I laughed and told him. I waited 5 years for Sarah while she was abroad. If we separate for another 2 years, the relationship is probably doomed. I didn't expect my words to become a prophecy. I returned to my rented apartment and started packing. Although Sarah hadn't been back in a long time, I had kept the traces of her life intact. But now her mug, her slippers, even the bottle of hand cream she loved, all looked offensive to my eyes. I shoved it all into a garbage bag along with her old hoodie and scarf. Unexpectedly, Sarah suddenly came back. She pushed the door open and hugged me immediately. Babe, I miss you so much. You didn't reply to my text, so I bought a train ticket and rushed straight back from the airport. Babe, right? Calling everyone babe at home and abroad saves her from saying the wrong name. She was still as clever as she was in college. I pulled at the corner of my mouth, but couldn't smile. Sarah let go of me and looked at me with those sparkling eyes. Babe, why the long face? I used to love those eyes the most. Since childhood, whenever she looked at me like that, I felt like the center of her world. My tone was flat. It takes over 10 hours to fly back, plus the train ride from the airport. You only sent the text an hour ago. Sarah froze for a second, then laughed, leaning in to take my hand. I took a step back, and her hand froze in midair. I glanced at her bare wrist. The matching bracelet was gone, leaving a faint tan line. I was just teasing you. So, are you happy to see me? I gave a half-hearted smile. Sarah felt the awkwardness. Her eyes swept over the garbage bag containing her hoodie and mug, and her expression changed. Fate, what's going on? Why is my stuff in a trash bag? I looked at her coldly. It sat too long, got dirty. She let out a breath and smiled easily. That works out perfectly. Come with me to pick out new stuff. I want things you choose personally. Tonight, we can't. She winked and leaned in to hug me again, but the image of her holding Julian at the airport was branded in my brain. My stomach churned. I pushed her away and dry heave a couple of times. Lucas, are you okay? Is it the flu? I'll take you to the doctor. I waved my hand. As soon as her hand touched my shoulder, my stomach felt worse. Just then, her phone rang. She looked at me, hesitating, but the ringing didn't stop. She had to walk to the balcony. As soon as the call connected, the sound of a little girl's laughter came through. Sarah quickly lowered the volume, glancing rapidly at me. I don't know what was said on the other end, but her voice grew urgent. Quiet down. I just got home. We'll talk later. She hung up, turned to me, and squeezed out a smile. I just got back, and the firm wants me to come in to debrief. My face was expressionless, but my heart felt hollowed out. Go ahead. I have to go to the office for a meeting anyway. Then call me when you're done, Sarah said, grabbing her bag and running out. The door slammed shut. I drank some water, took a deep breath, finished packing, and took my luggage to the office. The survey team leaves the day after tomorrow. I'm glad you finally thought it through. Otherwise, you would have missed this opportunity. Your technical skills are solid, and you're young. It's a waste not to get field experience. You can't always be trapped by a relationship. I want to fill out the forms. The director saw me and patted my shoulder with a smile. I smiled back. Just gain some perspective, that's all. Just gain some perspective, that's all. I didn't schedule you for a shift today. Go to the department and hand over your tasks. I nodded and went back to the design studio. After staying in the studio for so many years, I actually felt a bit reluctant to leave. But my colleagues were busy rushing blueprints, so I simply handed over my files and prepared to leave. Unexpectedly, as I passed the conference room, I saw Sarah and Julian leaning against the wall, arguing in hushed tones. Julian was holding a bag of toys, frowning at Sarah. Stella said she missed you. I brought her to see you. Why won't you let me into the studio to find you? Sarah rubbed her forehead, sounding annoyed. She was fine a few days ago. Why did she have to come today? You're doing this on purpose. Julian raised his voice. I know you're afraid of running into Lucas in the studio, but why can't I come in? I'm her father. You and I are in a formal relationship. What is Lucas to you? Why do I have to hide from him? He turned to leave, but Sarah grabbed him. Stop making a scene. Okay. Do you have to shout so the whole world knows? Do you think I can't control you? Julian sneered. Control me? Can you even control yourself? I'm warning you, Sarah. Don't force me to spill everything. Sarah's voice dropped lower. You know exactly what the situation with Stella is. Don't act innocent here. I paused listening to this. Their relationship seemed more complicated than it appeared. But regardless of the hidden details, Sarah's betrayal was already a fact. Julian's eyes reddened, his voice trembling. I don't want to tear us apart, Sarah. I'm just begging you not to abandon me. And Stella, she's your biological daughter. You can't just ignore her. Sarah was silent for a moment, then sighed. Go plan another floor. Don't cause a scene here. She took the toys. Julian wiped the corner of his eye and wrapped his arm around her waist. That was when he locked eyes with me. As soon as Sarah saw me, she immediately pushed Julian away. Julian let go reluctantly, looking down without speaking. Sarah froze on the spot, taking a long time to squeeze out a sentence. Babe, are you leaving? I saw Julian's hand tighten around the toy bag where she called me babe. I nodded and pointed at them. And this is Julian, our college classmate. He went abroad junior year, remember? Sarah handed the little girl to Julian. It's not easy for him raising a child alone. I heard he's had some trouble with work lately, so I just helped out a bit. The lies came effortlessly. She was certain I still trusted her and wouldn't overthink it. I nodded at Julian as a greeting. Were you guys in the same country before? Sarah's eyes flickered and she quickly waved her hands. No. Julian just returned to the States, too. I didn't expect him to be at the same firm. Just a coincidence. No matter how I listened, it sounded like a cover-up. Julian remained silent. He thought he was hiding it well, but the look he gave me held a trace of provocation. I forced a smile. While you guys are busy, I'm heading out. Sarah grabbed me. Don't go, babe. We haven't had dinner together in ages. I'll walk you back. Julian whispered sharply. Sarah. I looked up at her. The kid is right here. Shouldn't you take care of her? Sarah's hand trembled in panic, but she forced another smile. It's not my child. Why would I take care of her? To me, my hubby is the most important thing. She said this while linking her arm through mine, trying to lead me away. Julian suddenly called out, Lucas. I turned around. Julian was gritting his teeth, his voice shaking a little. I heard you're the best engineer in the design studio. Can you look at these project blueprints for me? I really can't figure them out. Sarah's face went rigid. She tried to pull Julian away. Julian, what are you doing? Julian shook off her hand and stared straight at me. For the sake of being old classmates, you wouldn't refuse a little help, would you, Julian? Lucas isn't the only engineer here. You can ask someone else. Sarah was getting anxious, pulling my hand to leave. Lucas, ignore him. Let's go home so you can rest. No. Instantly, nearby colleagues and passing assistants looked over. Sarah glared at Julian, willing him to shut up. But Julian suddenly grabbed the little girl's hand and took a step forward. Lucas, I know you're busy, but this project is my last chance. If you don't help me, I'm really done for. If I refused again, I would look heartless. Fina, let's talk in the office. I turned and walked toward the drafting room. Sarah followed beside me, whispering after looking at it. Let's go get coffee and relax. I glanced at her. Her face looked so much like the child's. The irony was laughable. She used to be such a warm person, giving her heart and soul to friends and lovers alike. How could someone like that treat me so well while having a family with someone else, all while coaxing me as if nothing happened? I didn't reply. Sarah looked awkward. I didn't expect to be so calm facing her and Julian's child. Maybe my heart had frozen over, leaving me numb. I briefly reviewed Julian's blueprints, marked a few issues, and handed the file back to him. Go fix these. Sarah stood to the side, sweat beading on her forehead, her hands clenched tight. Lucas, don't misunderstand. Julian's project really has nothing to do with me. I didn't need to get involved. Julian held the child, his face growing darker. I chuckled lightly. Julian has a kid with him. You're just helping an old classmate revise a drawing. What's wrong with that? Since when are you so afraid of trouble? Oh, is that what you meant? Sarah exhaled in relief, taking the file and handing it to Julian. I didn't want to stay any longer and turned to leave, but Julian called me back. He set the child on a chair, raised his wrist, and shook the matching bracelet. Nice bracelet, huh? Seeing that bracelet again, my chest still stung. I nodded indifferently. It's all right. I think it looks good, too. Sarah said you wanted this style back in the day. Too bad you missed your chance because she's with me now. This child is hers, too. Lucas, you're a joke. Julian threw sentences at me one after another, making my head buzz. Sarah had a crush on me since sophomore year. When I went abroad, she only settled for you during her 5 years abroad. We were glued together every day. When she first went out there, you texted her urging her to come back. She said she was busy, but actually, she was out to dinner with me. Love isn't about who's been there longer. No matter how long you stay by her side, the one she loves is still me. I stared at Julian. His eyes were full of triumph and arrogance. I couldn't refute him. He was right. Sarah liked him first. I was just a substitute. My 10+ years with her were just picking up the scraps he didn't want. What are you guys talking about? Sarah returned, gently linking her arm through mine. Julian glared at me viciously, a clear warning. It was as if he'd turn on me if I dared to speak up, but he worried too much. I truly didn't care anymore. I smiled at Sarah, just catching up with an old classmate. Sarah relaxed. At that moment, the child ran over, tugging at Julian's clothes and fussing. Julian couldn't quite handle it and looked to Sarah for help. Sarah glanced at me. Lucas, maybe you can call a colleague over. It looks bad if I help him here, right? I suddenly felt tired. I didn't want to act with her anymore. What looks bad? You said it yourself. Your old classmates. Julian is raising a child alone. It's normal for you to help as long as you don't misunderstand. Wait for me at home. Sarah waited for my nod before taking the child's hand and walking off with Julian. Julian wrapped his arm around Sarah's shoulder and tilted his chin up at me provocatively as he looked back. I didn't watch them any longer. I turned and went back to the apartment. By 4 a.m. the next morning, when I was preparing to leave, Sarah still hadn't returned. Good. I didn't have to waste energy making up excuses. When I opened the desk drawer to get my ID, a faded photograph accidentally fell out. It was a picture of us taken in the park 5 years ago, before she went abroad. My hands trembled as I picked it up, my fingertips tracing her beaming face. Back then, she had just accepted the overseas assignment. I took her to the station, unwilling to let her go. Not long after, I had a sudden medical emergency while working overtime. I called her, wanting her to come back and be with me. She said she was busy with meetings. Actually, she was with Julian, wasn't she? Thinking about it now, that trust was laughable. I shoved the photo back into the drawer, dragged my luggage out, and locked the door. After getting into the company van, Sarah sent a message. Babe, I got stuck sleeping at the office working on the project last night. What do you want for breakfast? I'll bring it to you. I turned off my phone, canceled the number, and tossed the SIM card into a roadside trash can. The van drove all the way to Union Station. The team leader handed me a bottle of water. I unscrewed it and took a sip, but tears wouldn't stop flowing. So salty. A colleague handed me a tissue. I wiped and wiped, but the tears wouldn't end. Eventually, I hugged my knees and started sobbing quietly. The colleague next to me didn't understand, assuming I was just sad to leave home. Only I knew I was saying a final goodbye to the last 10 years of my life. Just as we were about to board the train, someone suddenly rushed into the waiting hall. It was Sarah. She was drenched in sweat, looking around frantically as if searching for me. I asked my colleague to cover for me, saying I wasn't there. I quietly hid behind a ticket kiosk. Sarah ran right over, clutching that old photograph in her hand. Seeing that photo, my heart constricted violently. She found it. She knew that the pure time we once had was also destroyed. "Where is Lucas?" Sarah grabbed my colleague, her voice urgent. My colleague answered as I had instructed, "I don't know. He didn't come to the station." Sarah didn't believe it. Up with Seed. The firm said he signed up for the survey. "You must know where he is." She suddenly squatted down, holding her head in her hands. "Please just tell me where Lucas is." "Okay, I can't lose him." Squatting wasn't enough. She actually started pulling at her own hair hard. I was wrong. I'm a jerk. I deserve to die. A lock of hair came loose in her grip, scattering on the floor. She pressed the photo to her chest and howled, "Lucas, come back. We can start over." My colleague, frightened, stepped back. "Calm down. Maybe look somewhere else. He's really not here." A sob squeezed out of Sarah's throat, and she collapsed on the floor, weeping. She cried wretchedly like a child who had lost a toy. "Lucas, I was wrong." Then Julian arrived. He was holding Stella's hand, standing in front of Sarah. "Sarah, why are you going crazy here? Don't forget, you have me and Stella." Sarah curled up on the floor, clutching the photo, motionless. Julian stomped his foot in anger. "Everyone is watching." Before he could finish, Sarah shot up and shoved him hard. "Julian, did you say something to Lucas yesterday? Was it you?" Julian frowned and denied it. Sarah suddenly snatched the teddy bear from his hand and held it high. "If you don't talk, I'll throw this away and see if Stella ever speaks to you again." Julian panicked, his eyes fixed on the bear. "Sarah, that's Stella's favorite. How can you do this?" Sarah's hands were shaking violently. "Favorite? I never wanted this family. I wanted a future, and it was supposed to be with Lucas. You took advantage of me when I was down, got me drunk, and used a child to trap me. Julian, would you have the nerve to strut around in front of Lucas?" She was too emotional. Her grip loosened, and the bear hit the floor. The little girl screamed and started crying. Julian, face wet with tears, wiped his face roughly. "Fina, I said it. I told Lucas I've been with you for 5 years, and we had Stella. Everything I said was true." Sarah's face went pale with rage. She threw the bear down and stomped on it. "How dare you?" She stomped harder and harder. Julian cried out, hugging the little girl. "Was I wrong? Before I went abroad junior year, you cried and begged me not to go, saying you liked me. How about you always loved me?" Sarah laughed low and bitter. "That was just a moment of weakness. The only person I've loved in this life is Lucas. Since we were kids, my heart has only been for him." Hearing the words I had once craved the most, I felt as calm as a bystander. Belated sincerity is worthless. Julian suddenly sneered. "So what? Lucas is gone. He doesn't want you." Sarah's hands went limp, and she froze. She covered her mouth, tears streaming through her fingers. She looked like she had lost her entire world. The station PA system began announcing boarding. I blended into the crowd, walked onto the platform, and boarded the train without looking back at Sarah once. Having rushed for 2 days, I fell asleep as soon as I got on the train. When I woke up, I found Emily Carter sitting next to me. She was a college classmate of mine, working at the same firm, but in a different department. I didn't expect she had signed up for the Alaska survey, too. She must have seen the farce at the station earlier. I felt a bit awkward. Thankfully, Emily didn't bring it up. She pointed to a colleague in the front row. They wanted to sit together to discuss the project, so they swapped seats with me. I nodded. I hadn't gotten a new number yet, so it was hard for the team leader to contact me. Naturally, I ended up getting luggage with Emily and taking the shuttle bus to the base camp together. Emily asked me to go to the camp store with her. I wanted to decline, but she raised her arm. "I scraped my arm, helping you carry that suitcase earlier. I was hoping you'd keep me company while I buy some gauze." You can pick up a Wi-Fi card, too. I looked and saw a red mark on her arm. I felt guilty immediately. She had helped out of kindness, and I'd caused her to get hurt. Emily turned to leave. Never mind. I'll go myself. I quickly followed, missing the flicker of a smile in her eyes. I helped her bandage her arm after buying the supplies and picked up a data plan and some daily necessities. Back at my cabin, I connected to the internet to let my family know I was safe. My phone popped up a notification, storage full. 5 years ago, after Sarah went abroad, I felt uneasy living alone, so I installed a Nest camera in the apartment. It never served much purpose, and I was too lazy to manage it. Now, there was no need to keep it. I planned to delete the app, but my fingers slipped and opened it. The feed showed Sarah sitting on the living room sofa, drinking alone, empty coffee cups scattered on the floor. She wiped tears away as she drank, picking up that old photo, staring at it for a long time before suddenly slapping herself across the face. I'm so useless. Julian rushed into the room, looking anxious. Sarah, Stella lost her teddy bear and won't stop crying. Go comfort her. Sarah glared at him with red eyes. I'll let you in. Get out. This is mine and Lucas's home. Get out. Julian slapped her shoulder and grabbed her coat. Lucas dumped you. Stella is having a meltdown. Can you act like a mother for once? Shut up. Sarah pushed him away and drove him toward the door. Good riddance if she's lost. If she's gone, maybe Lucas will come back. Julian raised his hand to hit her in anger, but Sarah shoved him back. Get out. She locked the door and sat back down with a drink. I didn't want to see her like this anymore. I tried to close the app, but someone knocked on my cabin door. Lucas. The camera had two-way audio. Sarah heard it instantly. She threw herself at the camera, bracing herself on the table, staring dead into the lens. Babe, are you there? Babe, please come back. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I quickly closed the software and uninstalled it completely. The cabin door knocked again. I opened it. It was Emily. I can't find my toothpaste. Did I leave it here? I checked the bag. It was indeed there, so I handed it to her. Emily took the toothpaste, but didn't leave. Can you help me unpack? I was stunned. That's not really appropriate. Although Emily and I were college classmates, she was quiet. I used to revolve around Sarah back then, so we weren't close. Later, we were just acquaintances at the firm, unpacking personal items. That was a bit too intimate. Emily nodded and gestured with her arm. Broken skin. Can't use force. I wanted to ask for a favor. Otherwise, I'd just struggle through it. Emily was hurt helping me after all. The conditions at the border camp were rough. If the wound got infected, it would be trouble. I had to help her unpack. Fortunately, she didn't say much, and the process was fairly natural. Through this, Emily and I got to know each other better. I found she had a good personality, not talkative, but she knew how to pick topics, making conversation easy. She was thoughtful, too. Knowing my history with Sarah was tied to college, she simply never brought up those days. We were busy surveying all day. Just when I was about to forget Sarah, the firm called. Lucas, come back to HQ. There's a problem with the project from last month. We might need you to redesign it personally. Which project? I couldn't recall for a moment. The director paused before saying, It's Julian's project. If you really don't want to get involved, I'll tell them I can't reach you. I froze. I didn't expect Julian's project to actually fail. I didn't refuse immediately. Let me think about it. The director sighed in relief. Okay, take a few days. I held the phone, unable to calm down. Personally, I didn't want to see Sarah and Julian again, and I was afraid Sarah would use emotional blackmail on me. But as an engineer, I was trained to solve problems. I couldn't just abandon a project. Go back. Emily had walked over unnoticed and sat beside me. I'll go with you. Just treat it like a short business trip. Once the design is fixed, I promise to bring you back. Looking at Emily's calm and determined eyes, I felt inexplicably settled. Okay, but before we could leave, Sarah and Julian somehow found their way to us. As soon as Julian saw me, he shoved something into my hand. I looked down. It was a matching bracelet identical to the one on Sarah's wrist. It felt like burning coal, so I tossed it on the ground. What are you giving me this for? Julian stammered. Lucas, I was wrong. I've broken up with Sarah. I'm giving her back to you. Just help me. They said only you can fix this project. As long as you help, I'll do anything. Before I could speak, Sarah looked at me awkwardly, saying, Babe, we really broke up. I have nothing to do with him anymore. We can start over. I looked at Sarah in front of me. After months apart, she looked haggard. Dark circles under her eyes, clothes wrinkled. Hearing this, Julian jumped in anger. Sarah, you're heartless. You don't want your daughter anymore. Sarah shook her head gently. I told you last time, I never wanted this family. The daughter was just an accident. In that moment, Sarah felt terrifyingly like a stranger. I first liked her in high school when she was the class rep, helping me study every day so I wouldn't fall behind. I don't know when she stopped being herself. The gentle, attentive woman was gone without a trace. I didn't want to watch her fight with Julian. I turned to go back to my cabin, but Sarah grabbed me. Babe, you still blame me, right? Watch this. She pulled out a pair of scissors from somewhere, intending to cut the bracelet off her wrist. I'll destroy it right now. I promise it won't be an eyesore anymore. Sarah was suddenly manic, scaring us all into stillness. Faced with this version of Sarah, I was stunned and couldn't react. Just then, the scissors were snatched away. It was Emily. Emily threw the scissors aside and grabbed Sarah's hand. If you want to act crazy, go back to your own turf. Sarah looked at Emily in disbelief. Emily, what are you doing here? Well, Emily Carter, you act all quiet usually, but you were just waiting to steal Lucas, Sarah sneered. Lucas has loved me since we were kids. You can't steal him. Emily let out a cold laugh. I didn't plan on stealing him. Sarah grinned. Then let go of me. Lucas can only be mine. Emily tightened her grip on Sarah's frantic hand and said coldly, You don't even have the right to stand in front of him. And Lucas isn't an object for you to own. I was a bit surprised. Emily was calm and dominant right now, completely different from her usual self. Sarah was still muttering, Lucas loves me the most. He followed me around in high school. I was there for every key moment of his life. How can you compare? I sighed. Sarah, let me go and let yourself go. I don't love you anymore. Go back and make a life with Julian. Don't let the child suffer. She suddenly lunged at me. Lucas, how can you not love me after all our years? I shook my head, cutting her off. I wish we had never met. Sarah stared at me blankly, her body swaying. I looked at her calmly. You two leave. Don't disrupt the work here. I'll return to the firm to fix the design. Julian looked up in surprise, thanking me repeatedly, nearly bowing. I ignored him and turned back to the cabin with Emily. Unexpectedly, Julian left, but Sarah stayed behind. She squats under the tree at the camp entrance every day. She doesn't make a scene, so the site manager can't kick her out. Let's stick together for the next couple of days, Emily suggested. With Emily there, I felt reassured. We packed our bags, simply preparing to take the transport vehicle back to HQ. But the night before we were to leave, a torrential rainstorm hit. The camp was near a river. The rain triggered a mudslide, instantly collapsing the cabins. In the chaos, my arm was pinned by a steel beam. I couldn't move. I tried to stay calm, enduring the pain while waiting for rescue, but I was losing too much blood and my consciousness began to blur. I don't know how much time passed before someone called me. Lucas, hang in there. It was Sarah's voice. I suddenly dreamed of my sophomore year. During a fitness test, my blood sugar dropped and I collapsed dizzy. Sarah helped me up and took me to rest, saying, Lucas, don't be scared. Hang in there. Sometime later, the weight on my arm vanished. Someone patted my face. I opened my eyes and saw Sarah covered in mud. Lucas, the rescue team is almost here. Don't be afraid. I might not make it, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Don't meet me in the next life. You'll have a better life if you don't know me. Lucas, you have to stay awake. Let me tell you a joke, she whispered a few sentences. Her voice grew weaker and weaker until it stopped slowly. I closed my eyes, too. When I woke up again, Emily was sitting beside me. She was injured, too, worse than me. But luckily, no vital organs were hit, so she woke up before I did. Don't worry, your limbs are fine. Hearing her say that, I couldn't help but chuckle. Emily frowned, looking at me seriously. Sarah didn't make it. Julian contacted the firm to try and get you back for the project. When he heard you were in a coma from severe injuries, he had a complete breakdown. Hearing about these changes, I felt a heavy sense of melancholy. Someone in the colleague group chat suggested a memorial service. I didn't go. The workload at the firm was too heavy. As soon as I recovered, I threw myself into work. 3 months later, Emily confessed to me. "Lucas, I like you. Will you go out with me?" I looked at her. "Is that all the courage you have?" Emily froze. What? What do you mean?" I reached out and took her hand. "Emily, let's just get engaged." Emily's eyes went wide. Then she looked down and rubbed the corner of her eye. "Why are you in a bigger rush than I am?" A gentle joy flowed from her eyes, and she teared up in front of me. I smiled and patted her shoulder. "Don't be shy. Where did your toughness go?" Emily suddenly hugged me, wiping her tears on my neck. "You don't know. I've liked you since freshman year. It's been almost 10 years. I never thought you'd get engaged to me." I nodded. "I know." A colleague walked by, teasing us with a laugh. "Are you bullying our engineer, Carter? Look how pitifully she's crying." I held her close and comforted her. "Stop crying. Everyone is laughing at you." Boom. In the distance, the sound of blasting for construction echoed. A new project had broken ground, and my new life was about to begin. Story complete.